Okay, so let us start 5G core architecture part 3. So in this architecture, we will talk about 5G service-based interface, and we will talk about the roaming architecture of 5G very briefly, and then the data storage part, UDR we talked about. Then we will look at non-3GPP access, the access network which gets connected to 5G, which are not 3GPP. So in that we will talk about untrusted non-3GPP access. We will also talk about trusted 3GPP access. We'll discuss about what is trusted and what is untrusted. And then 5G residential gateway access we'll talk about, wireline access we'll talk about. Then we'll talk about fixed network RG access, residential gateway access, and then we will also talk about the devices which are non 3GPP compliant, how they can access, and then finally we will talk about access traffic steering, switching, and splitting ATSS. So let's start. So let us briefly talk about service-based interface in 5G. As I was explaining that every network functions. So suppose this is network function A, this is network function B. Have some kind of service. Either it is a service producer or it is a service consumer, right? So let us assume that network function A is a producer of service. So the other network functions, any other network functions can request for that service and it will respond. So these all are API interaction. The other kind of service which it can offer is notify service, subscribe and notify service, right? So in this example, suppose network function B is a service producer for the subscribe notify. So in that case, any other network function can subscribe to that service, and whenever that events happen, this network function B will notify to all those other network functions which have subscribed to this service. For example, suppose some of the network function requires the location or the tracking area of an user. So, and that is available with say AMF. So other network functions which requires that location can subscribe to AMF, and whenever there is a change of that, it will be notified. So this is a concept of service-based interface in 5G core, which we talked about, and these are exposed through the API, RESTful API we talked about. So now briefly look at the roaming reference architecture as given in the document 23.501 which I have shared. So I would be talking about the aspect which is there in the 5G and was not there in 4G. So basically if you look at this picture, so this is your home PLMN and this is the visited PLMN. So the control part has to connect to each other to to allow a user to avail the services in a visited PLMN. So that connection is through SEPP. We call it Security Edge Protection Proxy, right? SEPP. So this SEPP is in the visited network and this SEPP is in the home network, and the interface is called N32. So basically so the interface is quite secure. All those security aspects are embedded in this SEPP. So that means it does lot many functions. For example, it will not transfer the topology or other detail of say visited network towards the home network and vice versa. So both side takes care of all the security aspect in between. So it does all kind of security mechanism. And in this example, we are talking about the traffic, the user traffic. Suppose user equipment is here, which is which belongs to this network, but it is in visited network. So in this example, what we are showing is that the user is availing the services within the PDU session which is getting created is here itself. So this is called local breakout, right? So the data traffic which UE is generating or receiving is handled here in the visited PLMN itself. So this we call it local breakout. So 5G supports local breakout kind of an environment. The next, in the next example, it is kind of a home routed. So that means traffic will be handled by the home network. So the control part is of course through SCPP on N32 interface, but the data traffic has to handled by kind of a home network. So what happens? This user equipment when it tries to access certain services, its data traffic through the UPF of visited network will be passed on to the home network, right? So so the data network of home network is being used here. So this connection is on N9 interface, as I had shown earlier that the two UPF may connect to each other on N9 interface. That means there will be a requirement of user plane connectivity between the home network and also the visited network. So although we are showing one UPF, but there can be multiple intermediate UPF in between also, right? But is it connected straight away on N9 interface, or there is also some security requirement to take care of security at user plane? So there is a concept of IPUB, the UPF with IPUB. IPUB is inter-PLMN user plane security. So certain security functionalities are inbuilt into these UPF. The UPF which connects to the other network, say this is visitor network UPF and this is home network UPF, so that gets connected, which also takes care of user plane security with IPUBs. So that architecture is defined by 3GPP. Now we talked about data storage. So how is the architecture? So we just looked at network function called UDR, Unified Data Repository. So all those subscription data, policy data, uh, any structured data or application data, all are residing in the UDR. And now the network functions which actually require these data. For example, UDM takes care of all the subscription, right? The PCF for policy related data it requires, and NEF when it exposes all those data it may access to. So these network functions can access the respective databases through our interface provided in the UDR, right? So basically UDR is a data access provider. Some access API is exposed, either a point-to-point interface or a API interface through which it, for example, UDM can access the subscription data. Either it can write a new data or it can modify the data or it can retrieve the data as the case may be. So this is the kind of architecture of data storage in 5G. So
AUSF will not access the data.
AUSF is getting data through UDM itself. It is not accessing the data. Yeah. So now let us come to non-3GPP access. So all the three types we'll be discussing: untrusted non-3GPP, trusted non-3GPP access, and also the wireline access network. So let us look at the key concept of untrusted non-3GPP access. So in this example, what you see is access which is non-3GPP. That could be your wireless LAN, that is Wi-Fi, or it could be residential gateway, cable residential gateway, or broadband residential gateway. So how it gets kind of connected to 5G core, or rather 5G core integrates this access also. So let us look at. So just look at this user equipment. The user equipment which we have shown here has a capability to connect to non-3GPP access. The example could be that our mobile phone is able to access wireless LAN or Wi-Fi. The user equipment is also capable to connect to the 3GPP access. In our case, suppose it is NG-RAN or G-Node B, right? NG-RAN or G-Node B. So what happens in this case is that this non-3GPP access, when it has to connect to 5G core, there is a network function called IWF, interworking frame. N3 is non-3GPP. So non-3GPP IWF, interworking frame, through it will connect to the 5G core. So that means the untrusted network is connecting to N3 IWF, and then N3 IWF has all those standard interface like N2 interface. If you recall, N2 interface was between G node B and here just see G node B and AMF. Here it is the same N2 interface will be also there with IWF. That means that IWF has to comply to the N2 interface requirements. That means it is kind of converting these interfaces, the non-3GPP interfaces, into 3GPP interfaces, right? If you recall, G node B was having this G node B was having N3 interface with UPF, right? So same N3 interface will also be there with IWF. So that data traffic, the user plane part is taken care here itself. It doesn't go beyond this, right? Now again look at this UV. So UV can now access the G node B. So when it access G node B, so basically it is talking to AMF directly, although through G node B, but transparently with AMF for say registration or PDU session creation, etc. When it access the 5G network through non-3GPP, what happens is that once registration has taken place through this, a tunnel gets created. IPsec tunnel gets created and it transparently talks to AMF on N1 interface, same N1 which is here. Just look at this. So here also it is N1. So it's a tunnel gets created for control plane traffic. The user equipment is transparently interacting with AMF on N1 interface, even if it is accessing through this non-3GPP, untrusted non-3GPP access, right? So, and for the user traffic, again, some kind of tunnel would get created here to here, right? Just like our PDU session, and from here to here, that G3P tunnel gets created. So the PDU session. So now what we see is that the UV is able to connect to the 5G core through Z node B and also through untrusted non-3GPP access. It is also a possibility that simultaneously it is connecting to Z node B and also through non-3GPP access. That means two PDU sessions are getting created, one through this direction and one through this direction. So it is possible that user equipment have two PDU sessions, one through the G node B 3GPP access and other through the non-3GPP access. The important point to note here is that if it is connected through the two accesses, the AMF has to be common. A single AMF has to handle both access, 3GPP access and non-3GPP access, UV connection through 3GPP access and non-3GPP access. So this is the broad concept of access of 5G core through non-3GPP. So if you have any question, please ask, otherwise I'll proceed. Any concept which whether clear or not?
why it's needed two endpoint like connecting from non 3GPP and 3GPP if
So
we can access it via one. Yeah.
correct. So suppose you are at home, right? So what will happen is there may be a possibility that uh, you are not getting the G node B signal properly at home, right? But you at your home you already have a wireless LAN or Wi-Fi. So your device, all the services which you have subscribed to a five through that 5G core, you can access through your wireless LAN in case such arrangement exists. Today also, if you recall, you are able to make on 4G also you are able to make a voice call using the Wi-Fi. So basically it is again a non-3GPP access which 4G is utilizing, although the concept in 4G is slightly different, but it is similar. Is that okay?
Yes. Okay.
And also suppose you are also getting 3GPP access coverage and also your say wireless LAN. If it is connecting through the both, so your data rate can be I mean enhanced, right? So more data speed we can achieve through the two parallel video session which we are able to create. So that is also a kind of use case or advantage.
Sir, one
Okay.
question on the similar lines. Since we are finally landing on the same DN, so like you said for 4G in the case of IMS, that the DN was nothing but IMS. So here also this use case will be limited to IMS scenarios, because if it is your DN is just internet, then Wi-Fi, basically this WLAN is also providing access to internet directly, and 3GPP access will also provide that. But then why would we go through 3GPP access to access internet when we can directly do it via WLAN?
A very good question. So the concept here is that it is not uh, internet only. It can be so all services. So basically, suppose there are many data networks. Say one can be say corporate LAN, other can be say gaming, maybe IMS or maybe say AR/VR. And basically, the this N6 connection is with all the services. So either directly or indirectly. So there may be more than one UPF, right? The one UPF may be a kind of a branching UPF kind of. So depending upon what service UE is trying to access, it can access through the both network, like 3GPP access and non 3GPP access, right? So it is not only internet, it can be any service, even voice, or it can be. So in 4G we see the voice, the native service which is voice, is we are able to access through the wireless LAN. But other services are in fact 4G is not offering other services other than internet, right? Except the voice one, which is a native service operator itself has deployed that IMS. In 5G, since there will be a lot of services rolled out, so you can kind of access through any of these access points once it is enabled.
Sir, only one confusion here. So you mean to say that as long as these DNs are not accessible via direct internet and are accessible only via operator, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it does not make much of sense.
Yeah, so normal internet you can always do through Wi-Fi, right? So
Okay.
let us in one line say that the specific services being offered by your operator through the 5G network, right? That you can also access through your wireless LAN once that kind of service is rolled out by your operator,
Okay.
right?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sir, one query. Uh, these cases will also be applicable where there is no 5G coverage, like signaling will also go through an N3IWF, or signaling has to happen through a 3GPP access.
No, I think I said no. It creates a N1 signaling. So from UV to AMF is N1, right? So even without any access to your 5G G node B, it will be able to establish all the control plane signaling through this itself. So it is
Okay, sir.
independent, right?
Okay.
Okay, let me proceed. So this was important because all other accesses, I mean, the concept is similar. Picture will change. So just see this particular picture. This I have taken from, I would request all of you to just look at this particular article on a Wipro website. So they have very nicely explained how this non-3GPP access, how the data traffic will flow in case your traffic is being passed through N3 IWF, non-3GPP IWF. So just see that the control plane part, which is our N1 interface we talked about. So here also the IPsec tunneling for control plane, and for even for user plane data, there is a tunnel gets created. So, and beyond this IWF, it is similar to the tunnel which gets created from G node B to UPF, although that is on air. Here it is GTP user plane tunnel that gets created. GTP U we call it, right? So very, very beautiful picture they have explained this. There's one more picture. They have explained it further that how uh, 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 many IPsec tunnels can be created. For example, what they're trying to explain, suppose we talked about PDU session earlier, that a PDU session gets created on, say, non-3GPP access. So the outer dot dot what you see is a PDU session, and within the PDU session you may have various QS flow. You remember QFIs, quality of service flow indicator. So for different QFI, there will be a different set of requirements. So there are three QS flow being shown here, right? So for each QS flow, some tunnel has been created. IPsec within IPsec tunnel, these QS flows are running. So this is the architecture of how quality of service can be managed onto even non-3GPP access. The required QoS can be managed onto the non-3GPP access. So please go through this particular article very nicely. They have even gone into various protocol details. In case you have interest, you can just go through that. It's a very good article. So whatever I explained is written in text also in this slide. You can go through, or actually I have taken this from the 3GPP document which I talked about. I would request that straight away you go to the non-3GPP access chapter and just read the text written there. It will make you much more clearer. Now let us come to the same non-3GPP access, but it is trusted one. So basically, I'll give you example which one we call it trusted and which one we call is untrusted. So when a same operator is deploying a non-3GPP access, same operator, right? Then we call it trusted. Let me give you further example. Suppose at my home I have a FTTH from Reliance Jio. My mobile phone is also say from Reliance Jio. So now the wireless LAN which I'm having at home, and if it is capable of accessing the say 5G core of Reliance Jio, for which I have a mobile subscription, then my traffic can go through the wireless LAN to the 5G core network of Reliance Jio. In this case, we call it trusted non-3GPP access network, right? If it is uh, slightly different, that the FTTH which I have taken from say Airtel, my mobile is of the Jio, then also access is possible, but they call it untrusted. In case of a untrusted, certain security mechanism is there onto the IWF. In case of a trusted, the since it is from the same operator, so there is a different security mechanism because it is coming from the same operator. Okay, so here also the concept is same. The only difference is that now you have trusted non-3GPP access network. It is called TNAN, and it has got two components. One is the access point, trusted non-3GPP access point, which can be say wireless LAN or your Wi-Fi, and then other is the gateway functions, which has to interact with the 5G core. So it is non-3GPP, trusted non-3GPP gateway function. As I said that your UV is able to do a control plane signaling through the 3GPP access, that is Z node B, and also through this trusted non-3GPP access, it creates a N1 interface directly. And as far as the user plane traffic is concerned, one, it can go through G node B, other it can go through this, creating a tunnel towards the UPF on N3 interface. Rest of the concept are similar to what I discussed in the previous slide.
One question on this topic. As you said, or at least in the non-trusted environment, when we have seen there is basically a IPsec tunnel that gets established between UE and the core network
Right,
eventually,
right.
and that is how we ensure that there is no middleman attack kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now with this trusted non 3GPP access point, what if something, and since I do not see any IPsec tunnel or security,
No,
enhanced
it is,
security
I
here.
mean, they will still create IPsec tunnel. So that's not an, so for all non-3GPP access, the diagram which you saw here, it is for all kind of non-3GPP access. It is not that it is trusted or untrusted. The difference is that they call it trusted, and some of the security mechanism they, so in case of a untrusted, onto the IWF which they have lot many other security features, right? Which they may not have in case they are kind of using a trusted network, because those aspects are already taken care.
Okay.
Right. Okay, let me proceed. So again, this is a 5G residential gateway. So when I say 5G residential gateway, it is kind of a fixed wireless phone, we can say, right? FWP kind of environment, wherein you have, say, external antenna at top of your house, and at your home you have a box. So it is kind of accessing uh, to the G node B, right? It is accessing G node B, right? And it is providing some kind of wireless LAN for the users here, right? So one is that it connects through the air interface. Other opportunity is that there is a gateway which is, so wireless wireline access gateway functions, right? So here also this RG is a kind of a 5G device, can access to AMF through this. Suppose these are connected on fiber to a wireless access gateway function. So it connects to the 5G core through radio and also through this. In some cases, this may not be there. It will be connecting to, say, only N1 interface, and the users are connected on a wireless LAN, right? And they are able to access the 5G core on wireless LAN in this example. In case it is also a fiber, then both opportunities are there. And other functionality of tunnel and all are similar to what I shown in the previous slide. The only difference is that it is a specific 5G residential gateway, a new kind of residential gateway which is based on the 5G specification itself. Okay, this is some text you can read later on. Okay, so here the difference is that the residential gateway is a fixed network residential gateway. Basically, if you look at the residential gateway based on broadband forum specification, you can Google it, broadband forum specification. So they provide broadband services based on that specification. So if it is FNRG, in that case, uh, this do not support the legacy FNRG, do not support our N1 interfaces, right? So what will happen is that on behalf of this FNRG, the N1 and N2 interface will be handled by this wireline access gateway functions. So basically it is translating this Wi-Fi interface with N1 and N2 interface. And for data traffic also, beyond this, the data is going on N3 interface. So that means a fixed residential gateway can also be integrated with 5G core. And this is a specific example of uh, a trusted network where a device, just look at this. This is an UE. So every UE will have a capability, as in the earlier example when I explained that the UE has capability to connect to 3GPP access and also to accessing 5G core through non 3GPP access. But there can be certain UE which are not capable of connecting to 5G core through the untrusted or wireless LAN. So this type of devices are called non 5G capable over wireless LAN device. So name is N5CW. It is non 5G capable over wireless LAN device. So for such device, the N1 and N2 interface will be taken care by trusted wireless LAN interworking functions, TWIF. So it will convert the interfaces into N1 and N2. So this device can also access 5G services in this route if the device is not supporting 5G over wireless LAN. It is possible that suppose if there is a G node V, it can connect, but it may not connect to the 5G core through a trusted or untrusted wireless LAN interworking function. So for that, N1 and N2 is being handled by this particular box. Okay, this is the last topic of this third part is ATSSS. So it stands for Access Traffic Steering, Switching and Splitting. So basically it is a convergence of 5G and Wi-Fi, and this specification came in release 16. So let us look at this. This was there in 4G with some other name and functionality, but not fully implemented perhaps.
So in 5G there is a new PDN type which is been introduced, which is Ethernet. So whatever we have discussed in this non 3GPP access and all. So does PDN type Ethernet comes into picture for those cases?
Yeah, so basically you're right. So there are three kind of when a PDU session gets created, there are three types, and you are right. One is the IP type, other is the Ethernet type, and third is the unstructured data. So three kind of PDU session depending upon which data network a user is accessing. So even from your normal G node B, you can access Ethernet type data network or IP type or unstructured data. And of course through the non 3GPP also, depending upon what we are trying to access. Okay, let's move. So ATSS is access traffic steering, switching and splitting.
Sir, if you don't mind, can you give examples for Ethernet and unstructured?
So
How?
unstructured is like suppose IoT devices, right? For IoT devices, so basically the PDU session which gets is basically as you know that IoT devices will not require very high speed data. They will require a very small kind of data. So they will not require different kind of quality of service and all. So there is only one type of QS flow defined in a particular PDU session for IoT, which is unstructured data. Why unstructured? Example, why unstructured is required? Because if you use a IP type or other type, there are a lot of overhead, data overhead, right? So IoT devices are in a very remote area where they will receive a signal where you cannot pump more data, right? So very small kind of a data. So there this unstructured data comes handy because those we are able to save on those overhead required for a IP data, right? So unstructured data means it goes like certain format of data directly to the devices. So unstructured example, and similarly, suppose it is a corporate LAN, okay, corporate LAN kind of environment. So there may be a Ethernet type of network would be there. So there we can use PDU session, which is Ethernet type, and IP type. All of us are aware. Hope I was able to explain.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine. So just look at this. We are talking about three concepts: steering, switching, and splitting between 5G and Wi-Fi, right? So let us assume that we are at a place where we have 5G coverage and we also have a Wi-Fi coverage, and all those non-3GPP access things are kind of done. So what your device will do is that it will select the best network, right? So at a particular point of time, if 5G is a best network, it will connect to 5G. If it is Wi-Fi where signal is better, it will connect to Wi-Fi. So the first is the best network selection. Now, second thing is that while I am connected to say 5G, but I am moving suppose from one place to other place. For example, I am coming to home from a office, right? So I am connected on a 5G network, but as soon as I enter my home, so Wi-Fi networks becomes better. Signal from Wi-Fi networks becomes better compared to 5G. So it will hand over seamlessly from 5G to Wi-Fi. So we call it seamless handover, and vice versa. Suppose from a home I am going out. So at that point of time, if I am making a call or data, so it may hand over from Wi-Fi to 5G. So we call it seamless handover. The first was steering, best network selection. Second is that seamless handover. And the third aspect is the network aggregation, that our data which I am trying to transmit or receive is splitted, and part of it is passed through 5G and part passed through Wi-Fi network. So my throughput gets increased because now I'm using the two access parallelly. So this is called splitting. So that means in case of a splitting, multiple PDU session through different two routes are to be created so that my throughput gets increased. So in 5G, yeah, this is from release 16. It was not there in release 15. So it's release 16 which has actually come. This beautiful picture I have taken from one of the link I have mentioned here. So there is an article also you can go through. So as I was telling that there will be a multi-access PDU session. There are two PDU session getting created. The access is to different access. And here the three part, the steering, switching and splitting. So what should be rule to do that? At what condition it will switch to Wi-Fi? What condition it will switch to 5G? All those rules are configured in the device. So they are pushed. These ATSS rules can be pushed from a server to this, and also the rules are also there in the uh, uh, core network, particularly the PCF. PCF has that rule which it tells SMF through a PCC rule that what kind of PDU session can be created and what rule has to be passed on to the devices. So this is written in text. I can go through. So with this, we have come to uh, completion of the third part. If you have any question, I will try to answer.